Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex discussion. Today I want to talk to you guys about a fan theory that one of my patrons brought up that I think that you guys are going to enjoy quite a bit, which is that my patron thinks that Sarada just placed herself into some major hot water with Ada's character, and that we're about to learn in the future that Sarada, in her efforts to try and get away to have Boruto cleared other accusations that he killed Naruto, might have actually given Ada all the information she needed to have Sarada killed in the future. And this fan theory actually presents quite a bit of conflict for the story should this actually happen, which is why I want to bring it to you guys' attention, because between my patrons' observation and the 9,000 IQ level of you guys as a community, I think the combination of the two will actually put a lot of the pieces together in a way that actually makes sense. So let's take a look at what was sent to me. My patron's fan theory / observation is as follows. They say that if Sarada was trying to convince Shikamaru that Boruto didn't kill Naruto, and it being a repeat thing where they've had the conversation more than once during the time skip, then why didn't Ada ever get suspicious during those 3 years? Why hasn't Ada figured out before now that Sarada is immune both to the Shinjutsu that she used when she swapped the memories of Boruto and Kawaki in everybody's minds, as well as the Shinjutsu that allows her to control the hearts of people that are infatuated with her? And they say that while this is assuming that Ada has her senrigan cut on periodically throughout the day each day, so it is contingent upon that. Now my patron brings up a rather interesting point, and there are things hidden in the conversation with Ada and Sarada and Sumire that point into the direction of what my patron said actually being the case. Shikamaru has indeed grown very reliant on Ada's senrigan to be comfortable enough to ask her to confirm for him once again what it is that she saw when Boruto supposedly killed Naruto, and reveal that he was only asking the question because Sarada was claiming that the truth was otherwise. Ada is a character who we've seen in the past is patient enough to wait and watch and collect data before she makes her move. She doesn't act right away. As we saw with Code, she is more than content to give you enough rope to hang yourself, and it's possible she's already doing this with Sarada to some extent. She already would have known that Sarada and Sumire were immune to the omnipotent Shinjutsu because Boruto gave that much away to Ada by Boruto giving Ada a message to give to Sarada, and we saw her use her senrigan to watch Boruto and Sasuke in order to find their location, which means she would have heard Sasuke say that he wasn't choosing to believe in Boruto so much as he was choosing to believe in his daughter Sarada, who had begged him to save Boruto's life. Ada then learned from Boruto that the omnipotence is the true version of her power, and that in the past when she used it, it manifested the charm power that allows her to control hearts. Just based off of Ada's past behavior with Code, you can bet that she's already begun to think of how this applies to Sarada and Sumire long before she ever asked the two of them were they really affected by her charm power. She likely was already considering the possibility that they were lying to her already. Just based off of the first chapter of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, we know Sarada and Sumire are comfortable enough around each other to talk privately. They talk privately together about how everything had changed, but the question comes down to if Ada, when she looks back on the past using her senrigan, if she's even able to glean a hint of the truth in the process. And I do think she's at least gone back with her senrigan to rewatch some of the scenes with Sarada and Sumire in particular, hoping to find something that gives her the answer that she's looking for. However, there are two things that come into play with Sarada and Sumire that's actually in their favor right now. The first is that we were told by Ada that she has a short attention span when it comes to viewing things with her senrigan, which that in itself isn't too crazy to consider, just given the fact that we know Ada is a 19-year-old woman being ridden like most of the women who are under the age of 30, which is she has a short attention span due to the fact she has a ton of options available to her. Just like you'll see a girl or a woman under that age going from TikTok to TikTok, Instagram reel to Instagram reel, Ada is in a similar position with her senrigan. Her senrigan is basically social media for her. She said most of the things that she sees absolutely bores her, and it causes her to lose interest pretty quickly, which brings me to the next point. Sarada and Sumire are more than self-aware enough that they have to keep speaking via the Yamanaka clan's hidden jutsu, which is something that Ada is unable to listen in on the conversations due to that. So think of it like there's this invisible shield that is keeping Ada from seeing what takes place behind it, let alone hearing what takes place behind it, which is how they have the conversations in private that they do. The only hang up to this is that if Ada is indeed looking back through the past with her senrigan senrigan, and Sarada and Sumire have continued to speak privately using that jutsu. It's possible that she picks up on the moments of dead silence as being something other than the two of them being silent in thought, especially if she can shift through the scenes and see that they're doing so simultaneously at the same time, similar to how Kawaki over time was able to realize Boruto was speaking to Momoshiki. That's going to be very interesting and something to keep our eyes on moving forward, because Ada in chapter 1 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex was clearly casting a net out in order to see what she could catch, and Daemon was looking like he was ready to pounce on Sarada or Sumire the moment Ada actually gave him that order. I think my patron is right in the sense that it is inevitable that Ada uses her senrigan at some point to start looking back at the past, specifically to find clues about Sarada and Sumire being immune to her charm shinjutsu, potentially looking back at the first conversation they had when it was just the three of them. But instead, this time Ada acts like a woman her age. When she starts looking for reasons to disqualify the guy who's interested in her, she's going to view their entire conversation through a giant ish test, just like a girl that you might be interested in. Which I gotta say, ish test in order to avoid being demonetized due to YouTube's rules on language. But I do think she's gonna pay a much closer attention to the interaction, and Sarada's uneasiness about her might be the thing that truly grabs Ada's attention and makes her realize things are not what they appear to be with these two girls. However, I wanted to offer a bit of something different to this conversation, which is, if we assume that Ada already has a gut feeling in her mind that Sarada and Sumire are immune, does she wait to pull the trigger on the two of them? I'm only bringing that up just based off of the interactions that Ada has had with them. They haven't been openly hostile towards her, and when they were alone with her, neither made a move to attack her. I think that's the only thing that might be saving them, is Sarada's line to Ada about them becoming real friends, because it's something we know Ada genuinely wants, a connection that's not powered by the shinjutsu that she uses that lets her control hearts. There's a lot that has gone on off screen during the last 3 years, which is why I don't think it's crazy that Ada might have actually viewed them as being more than just people who were under her control, even if deep down in her heart she sensed that something was different with these two girls. Again, I don't think that there's anything in the past that will give away to her that they're immune to her, unless one of them slips up as not being under her charm control. But we've seen Sumire was made for this situation when it comes to deception. That was literally how her character was first introduced to us when we saw her in the anime, and when Sarada was panicked in the past, Sumire was the one who reeled in the situation in order to keep them off of Ada's radar. The question just comes down to, do you think Sarada might have slipped up in any way that betrays her and Sumire to Ada? And if she had, do you think that Sarada's line about a genuine friendship is going to be enough to win over Ada to prevent her from sending Daemon to kick off one of their heads, if not both of their heads? If we learn that Ada never cut on her senrigan these last 3 years to look back at Sarada and Sumire, or she never did so after openly questioned whether or not they were under her control, I do think we have to call a spade here, particularly in the latter situation, and say that it's completely out of character for her, just based off of how long she played the long game with Code. But if she did look back, how much of what it is that she saw will actually lead to her confronting the two girls? I personally don't think that there's enough there for her to actually confront them. I still kind of stand by it. I think that at the end of the day, that shonen trope of friendship is going to be something that wins out with these characters, because it's something that Ada revealed she wants desperately. It's not just the love and the affection of a boyfriend, she also wants a real friend. She specifically says that to Sarada. I don't think that was dropped in there by mistake. I think we're going to circle back around to that eventually. I think we're going to get to a point where Ada has to choose sides, but it's going to be a while before we get to that point. And there's a big focus on the conflict of Ada, Sarada, and Daemon and Sumire. But this cat and mouse game between Sarada and Sumire versus Ada and Daemon, it's something I do think has a lot of potential to serve as good conflict in the series, in particular for people who said they missed when this is a story about ninjas, because this is some ninja stuff. It's all about deception, and I think it's almost as good as the conflict that we're seeing in Jujutsu Kaisen right now, which you can check out my review for Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 237 by clicking the link right here.